This is It's Not in the Syllabus podcast, the how-tos of a student beyond classroom walls. This is the podcast where you, yes you, get to learn what they don't teach you at school and ace that test called life, or at least get a passing grade and get by. It's Not in the Syllabus is a podcast brought to you by the Adventist International Institute of Advanced Studies, together with the Student Association, where we feature stories by the students and for the students. Join us as we discover life lessons you'll surely need.
Hello everyone, welcome to the 18th episode of It's Not in the Syllabus. And today with me I have two amazing people, Jomar and Lyra. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good. One thing about them before I introduce both of them is they are TCK. This is Third Cultural Kid, right?
Third cultural kids.
Third Cultural Kid. So they both grew up at AIIAS, and Lyra is a librarian who is a full mom and she loves dog. Jomar is an English teacher at AIIAS. Am I correct?
Yes.
Perfect.
Good. And one thing about Jomar is if you have seen him around, you always notice that he's into singing. Lyra is also into singing.
Yes.
But Jomar is into forming groups of singers on campus. So today our topic is ghosting and closure. Now when we talk about ghosting, this is not the ghost that you know about. But today this is one of these spicy topic about ghosting and closure. Lyra, how are you?
I'm good.
You
I'm
good?
good. Thank
You
you.
good?
Yeah.
So let me begin this way. What is ghosting and closure?
Before I do answer that,
Yeah.
let me share with you a disclaimer first, so that we won't be stabbed under backs when we go out of this room. So, let me just say that any opinions or ideas that we share here are our own opinion and ideas, and we're not representing any organization, ethnic groups, individuals, company, or clubs, or whatsoever. And we're not representing anyone but ourselves or anything. So, to answer your question about
Yes.
ghosting, ghosting is when you have a personal relationship with someone,
All right.
regardless if it's a romantic relationship or it's friendship, and then all of a sudden you just
Boom, disappear.
disappear.
Right.
Well, it's not the kind of ghost that says "awoo," but you just disappear.
Okay, Jomar.
For me, it's actually like when you have a bond with any individual. It could be family also. It could be like to a girl or to a guy or to friends, or when suddenly you just decide to open it. Some people, they won't say like it's closed. You just open it for whatever possibility, but you actually just pop. Like you suddenly just fade out in some cases, or you could actually like discreetly like just disappear.
So actually ghost also has to do with cutting communication with some people.
All forms.
All forms.
All
of
forms.
Cutting communication. It's texting and maybe calling. But now, what about closure?
Do you want me to answer that first?
Jomar will that.
Okay, closure. When you say closure, it's actually a way to end something. There are many kinds of closure. I think Lyra could explain more about that. But in my view, when I
Yeah.
say closure, it's just to part ways with somebody and understanding that probably respecting another person's view or perspective and seeing like how life goes. You still go with the civil relationship,
Okay.
but you don't want any bond or anything that would be a little intimate or anything that would involve emotions or anything like that.
It's interesting that I like what you said. A formal way of ending a relationship. Formal way. Lyra.
Well, when you say formal, it's like the most ideal way of closure.
Yeah.
Because honestly, closure is actually like a relationship. It's a privilege
All right.
that everyone cannot have, but
Okay.
everyone deserves.
Hmm.
So,
Whoa.
Interesting. No, you're just going
Wow.
too deep here. You went
Well,
too deep.
that's so
You need
meaningful.
to,
I'm so
you need to
sorry.
unpack it.
okay,
Yes.
because there are different forms of closure. So
Alright.
we have the most ideal one,
All right.
the formal one, the conceptual closure,
Mhm.
wherein both parties mutually agree that they're ending that relationship.
Okay.
We have the retributive one, wherein
Alright.
you take revenge
Mm-hmm.
to get that closure.
Okay.
And then there's this associative closure, wherein
You don't want to be connected.
you just technically just cut ties with the parties, but that's actually, I think, the most damaging one, because
Alright.
you don't get any answer from any parties.
Okay.
So
that's
you just-
actually a part of ghosting.
It's
It
but
has
that's also
similarities in, in
but
which sense?
that's also one way of closure. You just
Okay.
like technically both of you cut ties with each other.
Okay.
So
Okay, good. As we move throughout this conversation, it's gonna get a little bit personal, and I like because you introduced a disclaimer. Now, the way we're going to go personal is this. Talking about ghost enclosure, have you had experience? Let me begin with Jomar.
Yes.
Where I haven't finished yet.
Okay, go.
Have you had an experience where you ghosted or you've been ghosted too? And how you also had an experience how you closure a relationship.
Yes, this topic actually is quite intriguing, and whenever it's a topic like this, I always look to myself first. That's why,
Alright.
like, I know that I have ghosted some people.
Mm.
Yeah,
And I'm curious to ask why.
yes, and there are actually a lot of reasons why we ghost, because like there are those people who are just not direct. They actually cannot. Words are so hard for them to say because they don't want to see a person crashed. So
Mhm.
eventually they just actually like fade out, or you just try to walk away. The thing is, we have, for in my case, since
Yeah.
I'm a TCK person, like a TCK. So what happens is that like I have friends that you don't actually meet every time. Like for example,
Definitely.
we're talking about the technology, that's still communication, that's still a bond.
Mhm.
But we also have friends that we meet, and that's actually a different one.
Alright.
It's easier to ghost somebody that is
Far away.
far away. Yes,
Alright.
but when they are here, that's another
There's
topic.
bond,
But
there's
I've done
connection.
that a lot, probably to a lot, or twice or thrice to some friends. It's
Mhm.
not because I intended to, but
It's just natural.
yeah, no, but sometimes you just get busy as well.
Mhm.
But that's another, I know it's another angle,
Yeah.
but because you see, like, you always have time for people you actually
You actually
love.
make time.
You make time.
Alright.
Yeah, you make time for the people
Mhm.
that matters to you.
Yeah.
So in that case, I've ghosted some.
And then have you been ghosted?
Ghosted. Actually, I wanted to share an experience on this. Like when I was, it's not.
Just make sure you don't mention nobody's name.
Yes, yes. When I was grade 5, I think I was in my place. I have a cousin.
Alright.
We're very close. Like I always talk to her like about my assignments, and during that time, it's a different kind of ghosting. It's like the
Mhm.
silent way, and I think she didn't like some of my attitude. During that time, I was still young, and I just moved. And so what she did was actually just ignore me, and
Mm.
up to now, it's actually damaging. Like
Up to this stage.
yes, actually, like it brought me a lot of insecurities. Like during that time, they didn't tell. Like I went to the house, and she talked to everybody that I'm going to like ignore me, like in the whole house. And then like when I talk to her, she doesn't talk.
Oh,
It was so painful, and I was wondering why.
I feel
And
like
I
giving
just
you-
knew like
I feel like giving you tissue right
yeah,
now.
yeah. But during that time, that was damaging, and I actually lived through it for some months.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I did not know about like what
What it
happened.
was.
And then right now, we're okay. But
Good. That's a good thing
yeah,
about it.
we're okay, but we never talked about it. But for me, it still left something. So
If
that's
she-
a
if-
kind of ghosting,
If
right?
she's watching, she might.
Yeah, I'm not gonna mention.
all right. Let me come back to you, Lyra. Tell me an experience where you have ghosted or you ghosted someone,
well,
and then we come back to the closure.
okay. I've never been a ghoster.
Amen.
I
Whoa,
was-
whoa,
I was
are
a
you sure?
ghostee. a
Alright.
ghostee. Probably for like, I can say that I did not ghost anyone because it's technically a mutual fading out. So
All
that's
right.
not ghosting.
Oh.
But for well, if I did experience ghosting, it was really a one-sided type of ghosting.
All right.
So it was painful, and you didn't the trouble of being ghosted is questioning your worth, questioning yourself, questioning what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it is true that it's quite damaging, but we have to move on.
Yes.
So yeah, just to answer you if I got ghosted or not, I did.
Thank you for answering that. What I like about you guys is there is this damage when it comes to being ghosted. You start asking or questioning your self worth, your if you have value to someone. But as life moves on, you start to understand that sometimes it's okay when people go away. It's okay when people just leave. Sometimes when a person leaves, doesn't mean you end being noticed by other people. Maybe by the time that person leaves is another opportunity for someone to come in. But let me get into this idea of being a third cultural kid, which means you grew up in a culture in an international environment
Yes.
where some of your friends, as Jomar mentioned, they're here for quite short while. And what is the impact of culture when it comes to not culture but different groups when it comes to ghost? When they leave your current place, the relationship seems to be just cut in somehow. So how do you manage even to be friend with a person who is not physically here?
In my case, I think like for TCK, we understand that we just have to go far away from each other, but whenever we meet, it has the flame.
All right.
It
Okay.
doesn't fade. And whenever there are important happenings, like up to now, like I can actually mention a lot of my friends. Like for example, my friend Yuri, Juan. I have lots that I know are my friend. I probably don't chat with them always, but
Yeah.
I've not ghosted them. They know that if they talk to me, I will talk. And most of the time, if I ignore their message, that means I do not have time yet to talk to
Oh,
them. But I
okay.
will always find time after that.
I see.
Yeah,
I see,
because
see.
that's the thing. TCK are not really ghosters.
Oh, okay.
We're just having our different lives outside our common circle.
Okay.
So I don't think that ghosting, the concept of ghosting, is filling
That
for
area.
TC. Yeah, that area,
Okay.
because most of the TCK are just technically just growing apart. But when
Okay.
they meet anywhere in
There's
the
a
world,
bond.
it's like
It's
nothing.
like nothing has
separated.
changed.
Yes,
Like you
exactly.
hug them the same
Yeah,
way.
it's the
and
same
I've argued
way.
before. Now, why is ghosting a trend now? Why is it a trend?
I'm not sure if it's actually. Well, it is a trend, but the thing is, it's just labeled recently.
Yeah.
It has been happening. It's just that they labeled it, just not so far away. I
'Cause
mean, like far.
I also
ago.
read that this word has been used maybe 2 decades ago,
Hmm.
but it's now that people are now realizing it.
They're recognizing
They
it.
recognize
They
it.
recognize. They're becoming aware
Yes.
of what it is.
But the thing is, when you say that you've been ghosted, you should make sure that there's an actual connection with the both of you, and then that suddenly disappeared.
Disappear.
So, because for some, they considered it as ghosting, even though they didn't really have that connection yet.
Okay.
Exactly. So that's actually
that's
you
different.
need to have the bond first
So you have-
before you can say that.
Yeah, you should have a personal relationship
Relationship with
first.
the
It's not
person.
like a common
An
conversation.
acquaintance.
Yeah, that
Mm.
doesn't count as ghosting.
So make sure before you ask or before you claim that
Before you
people,
claim, you say
that
you're
people have been ghosted, you need to have a relationship with that person.
Yes.
As we come into an end, why is it closure is important? Why there is a need to have a closure in a relationship?
Oh, for me, I, I'm actually not into closure so much because I always hope for something. Like I do not want to put a period to anything because I always I'm not sure of what's gonna happen tomorrow.
Okay.
Like if she's gonna be my enemy, I don't know. One day,
If you
like I'll
need
meet.
her or not.
Yeah, that's how it is for me. But closure, it would depend on like a person to another, and insecurities actually. Like when a person has a lot of insecurities, closure becomes, a need, because the
Okay.
moment you have like problems with, anxiety,
Self,
self-worth, and all
yeah.
of those, the moment you don't get the closure, you actually tend to label yourself a lot of things that are negative, and
Definitely.
that makes it very detrimental. But
Okay.
for some people who know their worth, their values, and all of that, sometimes like they just tend to accept like, oh, this person has a different view,
Perspective.
a different perspective, so they just accept it.
Okay.
So, but we need to understand what kind of individuals we are surrounded
We're
with, or
dealing
we're
with.
dealing with.
Nice. Thank you. Lyra.
Well, as I've mentioned earlier, if you do get a closure, lucky for you. But as I said, closure is a privilege. It's not a right. And if everyone deserves closure, but do not question your worth if in case you don't get any closure, because that only means that you're valuable to someone else. It may not be with that person or with those group of people, but there's someone out there that will value you.
I just
Wow.
have an additional question. Do you demand for closure?
I cannot demand. It's a privilege.
It's a privilege.
It's a
So
That's why
privilege.
she say it's a privilege,
Yes.
and it's
Yeah.
like I am inclined to think not much of a privilege, but it comes with maturity.
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah, because you need to be mature enough to say, "Hey, Joma, I don't wanna be your friend anymore,"
Mm.
and we just have to agree. I mean, it's maturity
It,
for me.
it's painful to hear that.
exactly.
But give yourself time to heal when that happens.
It's a process.
Yes.
Because nobody, well, I wouldn't say nobody, but not everyone enjoys being cut. Cutting a relationship. No, I don't think anybody will enjoy just to cut a relationship out of nowhere.
Of course.
Yes, yes. So at that point, we'll say that closure has to do with maturity. I will agree. I will think on this way. I don't know if Joma has a different view.
No. It's the same.
It's the same.
way.
And what I like about you is like you said, you don't enjoy having to cut
To end it.
a relationship because nobody knows where we can meet and how one may need another. Life is so short, and we need to realize that we might not need one another now, but we can always need someone's help later on. You
Yeah.
see.
So cutting ties.
I mean, we will advise you at home not to cut, but if this abusive relationship, definitely
Of course.
you need to end that particular
Mm-hmm.
relationship. Now, just as we wrapped up, is there any last word from both of you about closure, about ghosting and closure? Any last few words?
First.
Ladies,
Ladies first.
Um.
Dun, 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 dun.
Da-da-da-da.
Joma, go ahead.
Sorry. I got-
Yeah, so ghosting and closure, like it's really bad to do these things, because I think, for example, ghosting, a sign of maturity is, the moment you touch something, you are actually responsible for it. You just don't touch something and just let it go.
All right.
So you need to be mature enough to know that you have effect on
Mhm.
people, you have impact, influence on people, and so you just do not let it go like that. And if ever like there are some disagreements, you can always talk about it, and that's part of it. You can go personally to the person, ask if something is wrong, but if it's not working, then probably at least that person already had a hint of like
Yeah,
what's going,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so you can fade away, or you can actually like, for me it's really painful when it's like a cut
Cutting,
off, like
yeah.
because I don't believe like there's the moment you say cut off, it's like you did not really think about many things that
Yeah,
that had happened. You have to consider many things, and
Wow.
as individuals we need to actually give ourselves, the moment you have love, whatever you have, you can share it to other people, and you cannot share something you do not have. So for example, try to instill values in you, your worth, that you are loved and all, because the moment you you never know whom you're gonna meet.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
there are toxic people around us. There are people who are impactful for us, and you just have to prepare yourself for whatever is there.
Yeah.
If you have insecurities and all, try to conquer it by yourself,
Mhm.
because later on sometimes we try to find it from other people.
Yeah,
And when
yeah.
that happens,
Mm.
the moment you're ghosted, you actually it takes a huge chunk of
Yeah,
your heart.
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Wow.
Lyra.
Well, for my last words, if ghosting did happen to you, it's okay to be vulnerable at the time, at that
Mhm.
point, but enjoy that season and embrace that season of healing,
Mhm.
because we know that that is the also the time when your true friends or the true people that value you comes closer, and God is close to the brokenhearted.
Amen.
Whoa.
You see, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing with us about ghosting and a ghost and closure. I don't know about you, but today we have just learned and unpacked so many things that has happening in relationship, in a trend basically about relationship ghosting, and closure. When it comes to ghost, it's okay to be ghosted. This is what we learn here. It's okay to for people to cut the relationship, but when they do cut, feel vulnerable, but start learning about yourself. Don't feel self pity. Don't just criticize yourself, but learn about yourself. When it comes to closure, be mature enough to cut the relationship. When it for a way of conversation, you just talk to some people. And until then, God will bless you, and we see each other in the next episode 19 of It's Not in the Syllabus. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.